Hey everyone, and welcome back to Piston Ported's new secret laboratory. Now today we are going to do something completely different, and we are going to review this 4-speed Harley Davidson gearbox that I just purchased from Mid USA for my 1976 Shovelhead. The reason I'm doing this review is because I needed a new gearbox for my Harley, and I could not find a lot of information about this particular brand gearbox. And since I was on a shoestring budget, I am on a shoestring budget, I decided to take a flyer and order one of these. And I'm doing this review to hopefully get more information out there about this gearbox so that other people can make informed decisions about whether this is going to be a good gearbox for them. So let's get to it. Okay, so I have in my hands here the gearbox for my 1976 Shovelhead. That's a ratchet top 4-speed. I've never rebuilt a Harley transmission in my life, so this should be pretty interesting to do. I'm going to try to do videos throughout the way, and hopefully that helps solve some problems that other people may have experienced, or may experience if they haven't done one before. So first, we're going to start with the big bad boy here, which is the main drive gear, the 4th gear. And as you can see, this is the one that I took out of my transmission. If you look closely here, you can see all of these marks from where the shift clutches have collided or impacted with this gear when you shift gears. Now you can see there's a wear inside on some of the teeth. There's chipping right here. And overall, you know, if I was to review the casting on this particular piece or the manufacturing finish, it's pretty rough by any standard. And apparently this is 1976 Harley standards, and compared to my usual videos where I'm doing Lambrettas, this is pretty rough. So anyway, you can see my gear. You know, my gear bushing is cracked. I did measure the tolerance on it just to see, and it's totally out there. It's getting razor thin around the edges here, and that's obviously going to create a leak issue for me if I was to use this again. And on top of that, just the abuse that this thing has seen from people banging it in the 4th. You know, I was certainly not happy with that when I found it. Now, if we move on to the next gear, which is the 3rd gear, this one was actually the worst one that was in my transmission. You can see all of the teeth are chipped in some way, shape, or form. So they're beginning to fail. They haven't quite failed yet, but it's only inevitable that at some point this is going to fail. And I know somebody out there is going to say that they would run it, and that's fine. If you want to run this, you go right ahead. But me personally, I want nothing to do with this thing. This is horrible. You can see those marks there where the shift clutches have impacted it again. And there's no ramping here. So it's really just banging into gear, and all the ramping that is done is going to be, you know, expected of the shift clutch that came out of my bike. And so then you can see all the shiny spots. This is where it's been impacting with this gear, because it's just hitting like this when they're just banging in the gear, and it's just a lot of hope and, you know, hopes and prayers to get this into gear. And once you get there, you just kind of hope you stay there. And I think it would stay in gear for the most part, but I definitely wasn't well pleased with the condition of this. You can see wear on all the teeth. Yeah, this is just a rough one. So the inside is fine. It didn't really rock on the shaft or anything. I didn't spec it out, but once I saw the teeth were chipped, I just immediately assumed I was gonna, you know, place this one until I kept finding more stuff. So we can go right from here to, this is my 1st and 2nd gear. This one is in okay shape, I think, all in all. The teeth are very roughly cast and machined. But honestly, it's not that bad. There's a few digs into it. Yeah, there's a big one here where it probably ate something. But overall, it was fine. Wasn't my worst offender by any means. And now we're gonna bump right over to my main shaft here. You can see this bad boy. This is the side that this would be my output side here. So this is where your transmission sprocket runs on this, and I'm feeling along this. You can see where, and I can feel ridges where all of this is. So this right here really got me, was this ridge, because this is actually, it's not even inside the transmission at all. This is going to be way over on the primary with the primary seal. So this is just going to create an opportunity for the primer to leak on that side, which is, I'm going to try really hard to build this babe up and not leak any oil. So this had to go. There's obviously a little bit of rusting, but I wasn't too worried about that. I can definitely see some galling on the shaft. Coming over to this side, there was a chip in here. I don't know how that happened. It didn't have a kickstart on it at the time. I'm going to be installing a kickstart on it when I build it, but not really sure what happened there. But teeth are okay. But yeah, for the most part, it really came down to all the wear in here that determined this to be toast. So now we're going to move on to the Mid-USA gearbox. Now, the photos I see of these are pretty awful. So I thought I'm just going to take a flyer on it. This is a cheap gearbox. This is $400. The next best option is about $750, and that's from V-Twin USA or V-Twin Manufacturing. And that particular gearbox I have not seen with my own eyes, but I'm assuming it's probably the same thing. They're both going to be made in Taiwan. They're both going to be copies of Andrews. So this one is a copy of Andrews. I'm sure the Mid-US or the V-Twin Manufacturing is a copy of Andrews. Regardless, they don't really tell you that in any of the information about this. So I really had to take a chance on this one. But if you look here, this is what I was looking for when I got this. I wanted ramps. I wanted nice clean ramps here in going into my fourth gear so that the shift clutch, when it goes in, can actually do its job and not just bang against the face here. You can see there's some ramping here, but it's pretty awful. And with this, it's going to smooth that transition. That's going to smooth out its ability to shift. And, it's all about trying to build something that shifts as best as you can possibly make it, to make it the best gearbox you possibly can on, within the whatever budget you have. Me personally, I'm on a shoestring budget for this one. So, $400, that was a pretty big leap for me to do, but I did it. And honestly, I'm pretty happy with the result. Now, if you come over to this one, we're going to look at this. This is my third gear. You can see compared to the stock third gear, again, we have the ramping, which is going to smooth out the shifting. No ramping in this one whatsoever. The pockets for the shift clutch are shallow, which I don't know if that's 100% necessary. I mean, they don't really even touch it. But, this one's got nice deep pockets in it, whatever. Does that make a difference? I don't know. I guess it may be a little bit more positive of a stop, let's say. But regardless, it looks nice. That definitely looks nice. The casting and machining is far superior to my original Harley gearbox. Whether the strength is there, I just don't know yet. I've not used one of these, but it is far superior to the original gears that came out of mine. Even before, you can see the spots where the machining and there's nowhere. You can just see how crude they are. So Definitely not crude on these. These are really, really well machined. Then we bump right over to our first and second gears. You can see again the machining is beautiful. It's a little thicker in the middle here. It's not tapered like this one. You can see that there. And what that's going to do is just add a little bit more strength to your first gear, I guess, since first and second are connected. No, I don't know. But, you know, again, regardless, it is well machined. It's clean. Really nice finish on this stuff. Especially you compare this, you can see those ridges on this one. Compared to this one, it's nice and smooth. All the teeth are really nice. I mean, that's just nice machining. So again, I was really happy with that. Now, moving on, we're going to move on to our counter shaft. And for the counter shaft, I have my new Mid USA counter shaft right here. You know, and then I have my original counter shaft right here. First thing you're going to note is that the Mid USA gearbox does not include the first or second gear bushings. So, you know, if you think you're going to reuse these bushings, I'm not. I already ordered new ones because I'm just not okay with that. But these are pretty loose on the counter shaft itself. Or excuse me, on the counter shaft gear set. So, you know, I'm going to replace those anyways. But yeah, it definitely did not come with that. As far as machining, again, a little bit nicer in the finish here, but you can definitely see it like right here with these ridges and stuff. But, you know, not a huge difference, I guess. Just cleaner, you know. They finished all the teeth. You know, probably you might find a little less wear in the oil when you're breaking it in when they do that kind of stuff. But regardless. All right, and then we move on to the shift clutch. Again, back to the machining. You know, machining is excellent on the Mid USA one. Gets a little rough on this one here. You can see right here on the insides, but whatever. Not a huge deal. Looks like they kind of took a little dig out of this one, you know, and I think that should probably be straight. So, you know, fit and finish on this particular gear, or this shift clutch isn't quite up to the level of what I was the rest of the gearbox, but you know, it'll probably be just fine. So then we're going to move on to our second gears. Then here we are again. The stock one has some really rough machining with some sharp edges here. Not a huge issue because that's not really the impact side, but you know, again, back to the machining. It's okay. This one, kind of the same story actually. It just kind of depends on where the teeth are that you hit, that you get some of those sharp edges. So I may see some slag in the oil when I break it in. But other than that, I mean, it's fine. It's nice. It doesn't rock my world, but it's nice. Again, no bushing. Did not come with a bushing, so I had to order bushings. And then we go back, and then we go to the last two, which is, you know, the fixed one. This one, I obviously still have the Speedo gear on there. I'm going to have to take that off and put it on this one. Other than that, you know, obviously, you know, much better machining overall. Just a really nice, nice piece. So, couple other things to note: the Mid USA gearbox also includes new shift forks, so that's fun. I don't know if I necessarily needed them, but I'm going to throw them in anyway because why not? They're brand new. And they're straight. I checked them. And the other thing it came with, which is not up here, is my drive shaft. So I'm going to go grab that and then we'll be right back. Okay, so there's two parts that came with this that all the other ones don't. So this was also a nice added value. The first thing is going to be the main shaft, which you can see the machining on this is excellent. I checked it against this one. They're exactly the same length. So I should have no problems there. I also spec'd the 4th gear bushing and machining against this, and it was within spec. So I don't have to get this bushing board out to the correct clearance. It already is at the correct clearance right now. So that's pretty convenient as well. And then it did come with the counter shaft, which, you know, it looks nice, looks like a counter shaft. Not the biggest wear item in the world, but whatever. You can see my old one here. It's got a little bit of rust on it. I wasn't too terribly concerned about this one, just because, again, it's not the highest wear item, but whatever. They gave me a new one. That's nice. I'm going to roll with it. So, down the line, we're going to start doing videos on me rebuilding this transmission. And since I've never rebuilt this transmission, or rebuilt a Harley transmission for that matter, that should be pretty interesting. So for all you new beginners out there, that, you know, it could get ugly. And yeah, just to wrap up on this particular gearbox, my recommendations on it, I think the machining on it is pretty damn excellent. I was well pleased with it. The only thing I wasn't expressively happy with, I guess, would have been the counter shaft shift clutch was not at the level as of the rest of the parts. It also does not come with the counter shaft 1st or 2nd gear bushings, so you will need to order those. But other than that, I do think it's a good value. I don't think if I was building some type of a high performance motor or anything like that, I would be looking at buying a $400 gearbox, because that's just not smart money. If you're just building a stock gearbox, I would think this would be up to those standards. If you were, you're going to build some high torque, high horsepower monster so you can keep up with all your twin cam friends or whatever it is that you're doing, I think you probably want to consider getting an Andrews gearbox instead. I should also note that this one has the same gear ratios as the Andrews. This is the 2.6 first gear on this one, and then it also has they moved up the 2nd and 3rd closer together, for whatever reason that they decided to do that. And again, I believe this is really just a copy of an Andrews gearbox. But again, if you're on a budget like I am, I think this is an excellent gearbox. If you're on a budget and building a high horsepower bike, you need to rethink what's important to you, because maybe $400 gearboxes aren't quite the greatest idea in the world at that point. But on a stock FLH like I'm building, I think it'll be just fine. So hope you like this video. Stay tuned as I claw my way through this rebuild.